15 million euros, or 2.5% of your global revenue, whichever one hurts more. That's the top fine under the EU Cyber Resilience Act. And honestly, the fine isn't the scary part. The scary part is that they can order your product off the shelf. Quick reality check on where we are here. The Cyber Resilience Act is already law. It's not a proposal, it's not coming, it's here. And there are two dates that matter. September 11th, 2026, coming soon. That's when the vulnerability and incident reporting kicks in. That's weeks away. And here's the part people miss. It applies to products you already sold, products already sitting in someone's home or factory right now. Then December 11th, 2027 is the full compliance deadline. Everything else. Now the CRA covers basically anything with digital elements sold in the EU. Hardware, software, firmware too. It doesn't care where you're headquartered. You sell into Europe, you're in scope. So let's go through the 10 rules where getting it wrong just doesn't cost you money. It can cost you market access. Item number one is the one I see most teams trip over the most. Rule number one. Your product must be placed on the market with no known exploitable vulnerabilities. Yep, listen to that again. Known. Not 0 days, not the exotic stuff nobody could have predicted. Known. As in, it's already in a public database. Somebody wrote it up and it's sitting in your product anyways. This is Annex 1. It's an essential requirement, which means it's the top penalty tier. And it's the easiest one to fail because most teams generally don't know what's in their own build. Rule 2. Secure by design and secure by default. Those are two different things, and both of them are mandatory. Okay. By design means that security was in the plan from day one, from inception, not bolted on before launch, like when you started. By default means that the product is secure the moment your customer plugs it in, before they touch a single setting, before they log in the first time. So no universal default passwords, minimal attack surface, and all those unnecessary ports and services are turned off. Encryption for data at rest and in transit. And the product has to be resettable to its original secure state. If your device is only secure after a well-informed user hardens it, you haven't met this requirement. Rule 3, the software bill of materials. Now, this is the CRA's signature engineering obligation, and it's one that quietly enables all the others. You have to identify and document the components that are in your product, including a software bill of materials, in a commonly used machine-readable format. Top-level dependencies is the floor, not the goal, the floor. And you have to keep it current for the whole support period of the product being sold. The regulation doesn't name a specific standard. However, Cyclone DX and SPDX are both recognized, so pick one to be consistent across all of your product lines. Now, here's why this matters more than it sounds. You cannot report on, patch, or even find a vulnerable component that you never wrote down. No SBOM means every other obligation on this list is complete guesswork. Rule 4, the support period. You have to define how long you're going to support your product. And the expectation is at least 5 years, unless the product is genuinely expected to have a significantly shorter lifetime. Now, during that window, security updates are free. Not a paid tier, not a maintenance contract, free. And you have to tell the buyer clearly at the point of sale what this support period is. This one reshapes your product roadmap, not just your security program, because it means every SKU you launch carries a multi-year funded obligation. Now, finance needs to know that, not just engineering. Rule number 5, security updates have to be delivered automatically by default with a clear way for the user to opt out if they need to. Now, where it's technically feasible, security fixes should be separated from feature updates. So a customer never has to accept a UI redesign they didn't want in order to get a patch they urgently need. Signed updates, verified before install, roll back if something goes wrong. Because a patch you can build but can't reliably deliver, it doesn't protect anybody. Rule number 6. This is the one with a deadline on it right now. If you become aware that a vulnerability in your product is being actively exploited, or you have a severe incident, the clock starts. 24 hours for an early warning, 72 hours for full notification with the measures that you're taking, 14 days for the final report once a fix is available. That goes to ANISA and your national CSIRT through a single reporting platform. And the clock starts when you become aware, not when you're ready, not when legal has signed off. 24 hours is not enough time to build process. If you don't already have one, that's the thing you need to fix this quarter. Rule number 7, a coordinated vulnerability disclosure policy and a single point of contact, meaning when a researcher finds a flaw in your product, there is an obvious published place for them to tell you and a documented process for what happens next. Right now, a lot of companies, that report lands in a generic sales inbox and then dies there. Now, under the CRA, that's a compliance gap, and you also have to share fixed vulnerability information publicly so the people downstream from you can act on it. The bar here is actually pretty low, which is exactly why failing it looks so bad. Rule number 8, technical documentation. Yeah, EU Declaration of Conformity, CE marking, you name it. And I want to be blunt about this because engineers hate this rule. Okay. To market surveillance authority, your security is your documentation. If you can't evidence it, you didn't do it. It's plain and simple. That means a technical file covering your risk assessment, your design decisions, your vulnerability handling, a declaration of conformity, the CE mark applied properly. You keep all of that documentation for 10 years or the length of your support period, whichever's longer. And a wrong or missing declaration sits in its own penalty tier, so be careful. 10 million euros or 2%. That's pretty uncomfortable. Rule number 9, not every product gets to grade its own homework. Most products are in the default category and you can self-assess, but there are really important products, class 1 and class 2. Password managers, VPNs, firewalls, operating systems, microcontrollers, that kind of things. Those need a stricter route. And class 2 generally means a third party gets involved. Above that, critical products where an EU cybersecurity certification scheme can be required. Now, here's the trap. If you classify yourself into the default bucket when you actually belong in an important class, your entire conformity assessment is invalid. Not just weak, invalid. And so is your CE mark as well. Get the classification checked by someone who isn't the person who wants to answer default to get it done. And finally, rule number 10. And this is the one that catches people who feel like they've done everything right. You have to exercise due diligence on the third party components you integrate. Yeah, including open source. When you ship someone else's library inside your product, its vulnerability becomes yours legally. Our supplier gave us that binary is not a defense. Now, there is good news here. The Commission just published guidance on clarifying open source under the CRA, and it confirms that freely available open source software is generally out of scope as long as it isn't being supplied as part of a commercial activity. Individual contributors submitting patches generally carry no CRA obligation. But, and this is the important bit, you pulling that library into a product that you sell, that now becomes commercial. You own it downstream. The maintainer's exemption is not your exemption. Now, one last thing, because I don't want to oversell the fear. Nobody wakes up banned. Enforcement usually starts with an information request, then an evaluation, then an order to take corrective action. But the CRA doesn't promise you a warning, and authorities can restrict, withdraw, or recall a product that's already on the market. For most manufacturers, losing EU market access is the bigger number, not the fine. So here's what I do this week. Pick one product, just one. Try to produce three things: an accurate SBOM, your declared support period, and the name of the person who owns the 24-hour reporting call. If any of those three takes more than a day to answer, you found your gap. And you found it while there's still time to close it.